I was standing in the church venue 3 days before my wedding, holding the guest list in my hands, feeling that warm flutter of anticipation you get when something beautiful is about to happen. Sarah and I had spent months planning this day. After everything I had been through, after the darkest period of my life, I had finally found someone who stood by me, who believed in me when the world did not. She was my second chance at happiness. But as my eyes scanned down that list of names, past family members and old friends, I froze. My heart literally stopped. There it was printed in neat black letters, Marcus Brennan plus guest. That name should not be here. That name destroyed everything I had built. That name represented the worst betrayal I had ever experienced. And somehow impossibly it was on my wedding guest list. Before I tell you how one name on a wedding guest list unraveled my entire future, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments. If you have ever trusted someone completely only to discover they had been hiding something that could break you, hit that like button. And subscribe, because what happened next taught me that sometimes the people closest to us can hurt us the deepest without even realizing the damage they have done. The truth about loyalty boundaries and knowing when to walk away is coming. Now let me take you back to where this all started. To understand why that name on the guest list felt like a knife to my chest, you need to know what Marcus Brennan did to me 4 years ago. Back then I was living what I thought was my dream life in Seattle. I was a senior architect at Morrison & Associates, one of the most prestigious firms in the Pacific Northwest. At 24 years old, I was the youngest person to ever hold that position at the company. I had worked my way up from intern to junior designer to senior architect in just 3 years. It was not luck. It was 90-hour weeks, sacrificed weekends, and pure dedication to my craft. The project that was supposed to change my career was a $50 million commercial complex in downtown Seattle. Glass towers, sustainable design elements, innovative use of natural light. I had spent an entire year developing the concept, working through hundreds of sketches, creating detailed models, refining every angle. This was not just a building, it was my masterpiece. My ticket to becoming the youngest partner in the firm's history. And I was naive enough to trust my colleague Marcus Brennan with every detail of that design. Marcus was charming, friendly, the kind of guy who remembered everyone's birthday and brought coffee for the team on Monday mornings. We shared an office space, often worked late together, bounced ideas off each other. I thought we were friends. I thought I could trust him. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was showing him my complete design portfolio for the project, including my handwritten notes, my sketches, everything that proved the concept originated in my mind. 3 weeks before the final presentation to the board, Marcus called in sick for 4 days straight. I should have known something was wrong, but I was too focused on perfecting the presentation. When those board members walked into that conference room, I was ready. I had my laptop, my models, my carefully rehearsed speech. But before I could even start, Marcus stood up and began presenting my design as his own. Every single element I had created, every innovative feature I had spent months developing, he claimed, as his original work. I sat there in shock for maybe 30 seconds before I found my voice. I stood up and said, "This is my design. I created every element of this project." But Marcus was prepared. He had emails timestamped and backdated sent to himself with design files attached. He had notebooks with sketches that looked like mine but bore his handwriting somehow. He had built an elaborate false trail of evidence that made it look like he had developed the concept first and that I had stolen it from him. The board members looked at me with such disappointment, such disgust. The CEO, who happened to be a close friend of Marcus's father, asked me to leave the room. 2 days later, I was fired for plagiarism and theft of intellectual property. My name was dragged through the entire architecture community in Seattle. Morrison & Associates made sure everyone knew that Carlton was a thief who stole his colleagues' work. No other firm would touch me. I applied to 47 different positions in the following 3 months. 47 rejections. My reputation was destroyed. I could not pay rent on my downtown apartment. At 24 years old, I had to pack up my life and move back in with my parents in Portland, sleeping in my childhood bedroom with posters still on the walls. Meanwhile, Marcus got promoted to lead architect. He took credit for the commercial complex project, which won 3 design awards. He became the golden boy of Morrison & Associates, featured in architecture magazines, invited to speak at conferences. And I became a cautionary tale, a warning about what happens when you try to steal someone else's work. For 6 months, I barely left my parents' house. I was depressed, angry, betrayed. I had lost my career, my reputation, my entire sense of identity. Everything I had worked for since I was 18 years old gone, erased by one person's greed and ambition. I stopped drawing, stopped designing, stopped believing that good things could happen to decent people who worked hard. Then I met Sarah. It was about a year after the disaster with Marcus. I had finally forced myself to get a job, any job, just to feel useful again. I was working as a part-time barista at a small coffee shop in Northwest Portland, making lattes and wiping down tables. Not exactly where I thought I would be at 25, but it paid some bills. Sarah was a regular customer. She taught at an elementary school a few blocks away, and she came in every morning at 7:15, always ordering the same thing, vanilla latte with oat milk extra hot. She had this way of smiling that made you feel like everything might actually be okay. She always left generous tips, always said thank you like she really meant it. One afternoon during my break, I was sitting in the corner booth sketching on a napkin, just doodling architectural designs because I could not help myself. Sarah came over and asked if she could sit down. She pointed at my sketch and said, "That is beautiful." What is it? I told her it was nothing, just something I used to do. She did not push, did not pry. She just said that whatever I used to do, I should keep doing it because I was clearly talented. Then she asked if I wanted to grab dinner sometime. Just like that. No judgment, no complicated history required. On our first date, I told her everything. About Marcus. About losing my job. About the blacklist. About how I felt like a failure at 25. I expected her to make an excuse and leave. Instead, she reached across the table, took my hand, and said something I will never forget. She said, "The best architects are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who rebuild after the collapse. You are still standing, Carlton. That means you are stronger than whatever tried to break you." Sarah became my anchor. Over the next 2 years, she encouraged me to start freelancing to take small residential design projects to slowly rebuild my portfolio and my confidence. She believed in me when I did not believe in myself. She helped me see that my worth was not determined by what Marcus had taken from me, but by what I chose to create next. Gradually, painfully, I started to rebuild. I took on projects designing sustainable homes, small office renovations, garage conversions. Nothing glamorous, but each project reminded me why I loved architecture in the first place. After 2 years of grinding, saving every dollar, I opened my own studio, Carlton Design Studio, specializing in eco-friendly residential architecture. It was tiny, just me and a drafting table and a shared workspace, but it was mine. No Marcus, no corporate politics, no one to steal my ideas. Sarah was there the day I signed the lease, holding my hand, crying happy tears. That night, she said she had never been more proud of anyone in her entire life. A year later, I took Sarah hiking up Mount Hood on a clear October morning. At the summit, with the whole world spread out below us, and the sun turning everything gold, I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me. She said yes before I even finished the question, laughing and crying at the same time. We planned an intimate ceremony for 75 guests at a renovated barn venue outside Portland. Autumn wedding, golden leaves, string lights, everything simple and perfect. The date was set for late October. Everything was falling into place. I had rebuilt my life, found love, created a future worth believing in. 3 days before the wedding, I went to the venue to check on final preparations. The wedding planner, a detail-oriented woman named Hannah, handed me the seating chart and guest list for final approval. I was scanning through the names, mentally picturing where everyone would sit when I saw it. Marcus Brennan, plus guest. Row 7, table 3. My vision tunneled. My hands started shaking. The paper crinkled in my grip. This must be a mistake. This has to be a mistake. I asked Hannah who added this name. She checked her notes and said, "Oh, that is from Sarah's side. She added it about 2 weeks ago. Said he was an old friend who wanted to reconcile." I pulled out my phone and called Sarah immediately, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might crack a rib. She answered on the third ring, her voice bright and happy. She was at the salon getting her hair done for wedding photos. "Hey babe, what is up?" I could barely form the words. "Why is Marcus Brennan on our guest list?" The line went quiet for a long moment. Then her voice changed, became cautious, guarded. "Can we talk about this later? I am in the middle of something." "No, Sarah. I need to know now. Why is the man who destroyed my career invited to our wedding?" She sighed, and I could hear her moving to somewhere more private. "He reached out to me a few weeks ago, Carlton. He sent me this really heartfelt email saying he wanted to apologize to you. He said he has been carrying guilt for years and wanted a chance to make things right. I thought the wedding would be a good opportunity for closure, for you to finally move past what happened." I stood there in that empty barn venue, surrounded by white chairs and unlit string lights, feeling like the floor had just disappeared beneath my feet. You invited him without telling me, without even asking me, Sarah. This is my trauma, my nightmare. How could you make this decision without me? She got defensive, then her voice rising. I was trying to help you, Carlton. You have been carrying anger about Marcus for 4 years. It is eating you alive. I thought if you could face him, hear him apologize, maybe you could finally let it go. I did not tell you because I knew you would react exactly like this. You would shut down any possibility of forgiveness without even giving it a chance. I told her we would talk when she got home and hung up. I sat alone in that venue for an hour, staring at that guest list, feeling like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. That night Sarah came home around 8. The house was dark except for the lamp in the living room where I was sitting waiting. She put her purse down carefully like she was defusing a bomb and sat across from me. Her eyes were red. She had been crying in the car. Carlton, please hear me out. I know you are upset, but I really thought I was doing the right thing. Marcus sounded so sincere in his emails. He talked about how he could not sleep at night, how he had made the biggest mistake of his life, how he wanted to make amends before you started this new chapter. I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. You have been talking to him. For how long? She bit her lip. About 2 months. He first reached out in August. He said he had heard about the wedding through mutual contacts in the architecture community. He wanted my help surprising you with an apology. 2 months. She had been communicating with the man who ruined my life for 2 months, and I had no idea. What else did you talk about? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Did you tell him about my studio? About my projects? Sarah looked confused. Well, yes. He asked how you were doing. I told him you had bounced back, that you were doing amazing work now. I thought it would make him feel better to know you were okay. I wanted to scream. I wanted to put my fist through the wall. But instead I just stared at her, this woman I thought I knew, and realized I was looking at a stranger. Do you have any idea what you have done, Sarah? That man did not just fire me. He stole a year of my life's work. He made sure I could never work in corporate architecture again. He took credit for my designs and built his entire career on my back. And you thought inviting him to our wedding was helping me. Her face crumpled. I was trying to help you heal, Carlton. Forgiveness is not for him. It is for you. You are carrying so much anger, and I do not want you to bring that into our marriage. I wanted to give you closure. I stood up, pacing, now unable to sit still. Closure. You think closure comes from forcing me to sit at my own wedding and smile at the man who destroyed me? You made a decision about my trauma without consulting me. You have been secretly communicating with my enemy for months. Do you understand how that feels? It feels like betrayal, Sarah. It feels like you do not actually respect my feelings at all. She stood too, her own anger flaring now. That is not fair. Everything I have done for the past 3 years has been about supporting you, believing in you, helping you rebuild. I thought Marcus reaching out was a gift, a chance for you to finally let go of the past. But you are so stubborn, Carlton. You would rather hold on to your anger than forgive someone who is trying to make things right. I lost it then. Forgiveness. You want to talk about forgiveness? I have spent 4 years rebuilding from nothing. I have swallowed my pride, worked jobs I was overqualified for, watched Marcus get awards for my work, and I have done it without becoming bitter, without giving up. That is forgiveness, Sarah. Forgiveness is me choosing to move forward with my life. What you are asking for is not forgiveness. You are asking me to pretend it never happened. We stood there in the living room, 2 people who loved each other suddenly feeling miles apart. I need some air, I said finally. I grabbed my keys and left. I drove to the parking lot by the Willamette River and sat in my car as the city lights reflected off the dark water. I could not go back there. Not yet. I needed to think. I needed to understand what was happening. I opened my laptop and started searching. Marcus Brennan Morrison and Associates. His LinkedIn profile popped up immediately. Still working there. Recently promoted to partner. Smiling in photos at company galas, shaking hands with clients, cutting ribbons at building openings. Zero indication of remorse or guilt. Just a successful architect enjoying the career he built on my stolen work. I scrolled through his posts. Not one mention of regret, of wanting to make amends, nothing that matched what he had apparently told Sarah. Around 2 in the morning, I called Derek, an old colleague who still worked at Morrison and Associates. We had stayed in touch over the years, one of the few people who believed my side of the story but could not risk speaking up. Derek, sorry to call so late. Are you up? Yeah, man, I'm at the office actually. Deadline tomorrow. What is going on? I asked him. If Marcus had mentioned anything about feeling guilty about wanting to apologize to me. Derek actually laughed. Marcus, dude. Marcus does not do guilt. Are you kidding? He just closed a deal with some tech company for their new headquarters. He is on top of the world. Has he ever mentioned me? Like expressed any regret about what happened? There was a long pause. Carlton, I am going to be real with you. Marcus brags about what he did. At company parties when he is drunk, he tells people how he outplayed you. He thinks it is funny. Why are you asking? My stomach turned to ice. I just needed to know something. Thanks, Derek. Before I could hang up, Derek said, wait, why the sudden interest in Marcus' word around the office is he has been trying to expand his network lately. Some people said he heard your studio's doing well. Is he trying to contact you? Everything clicked into place. Marcus was not sorry. He never had been. He had heard I was rebuilding my reputation, winning small projects, making a name for myself in sustainable design. And he wanted access. He wanted to steal from me again. But this time, he could not just take files from a shared office. So he went through Sarah. He manipulated my fiancée, played on her good nature, her desire to help me heal, and turned her into a doorway back into my life. And she had no idea she was being used. I drove home as the sun came up.